Today we'll be building an awesome rig for rendering and gaming and everything you want to do for a budget around $700. In this corner we have the GTX 970 and over here we have the MSI motherboard. Kind of looks like this. And it's going in the NZXT Source 220, which is a pretty good case. I did a review on that earlier. Because we don't have a test bench, we're going to use the box. So just put the motherboard right on that box. Next we're going to push this little bar down and open up the CPU socket and remove this black thing that protects it. And now we take the processor and line it up with the little nubs on the socket, and it's in there. Once it's in there good, we take the door, put it down, and press this bar all the way down till it clips back on. Should be a little tough, but that's okay. Now once you got the processor in there, you're going to want to take the stock Intel cooler, make sure the arrows are facing the way they're supposed to be, and put it in there. Can be a little tricky. Press each one down into their respective holes. Putting this cooler in can be a little tricky. All you have to do is make sure these things are pressed down until you hear a little sound. Now that you have the fan installed, somewhere around it should be a CPU fan plug. So you take the cable from the fan, looks like this, and you plug it in there. We have our 8 gigs of G.Skill Ripjaws that we're going to put in this back slot here. Gonna stand up and put some pressure on the sides until it clicks in. Now for the graphics card. We're going to take our GTX 970 and pop it into the top slot on our motherboard. Our top PCIe 16 slot. For some reason motherboards just like it in the very top one, so if you have one graphics card, don't put it in the lower one. Put it in the, if you have two or more PCI X16 graphics card slots, just put it in the top one. And no computer is complete without power. Well, this one doesn't even have a case because it didn't come in the mail yet. But we're going to plug these in. Everything. So those are your graphics card plugs. Now you want to plug your motherboard in. Just goes over here. Can't really see that. Well, you still can't see it because it's black, but there is the 24-pin motherboard port. We're going to take our 20 plus 4-pin motherboard cable, plug it in. This 20 plus. So now that you got that in there, you're gonna put this thing in the other part. Goes up here. This fits right in there like that. It's easier than the other one. Once you have the I/O shield on your motherboard, you can go ahead and put it in your case. Once you get that in there, you can use this handy dandy tool that came with your case to screw the motherboard in. Now we're going to put this here power supply in. Should go in fairly easily with the vent facing down.
I'm trying to watch the TV.
Now we're going to do some graphics card installation. Just got to unscrew these protective shields. Set them somewhere you know where they are in case you want to put them back later. The most important part of the computer should just slide right in there. I know I said earlier that you should put it in the top slot, but you know, I tested this motherboard with it in the bottom and it just worked, so I'm like, hey, why not just put it in the bottom so it's easier to cable manage. Right, Michael?
Yeah.
That's in there pretty good. Now for the power connectors. We didn't invest in a fully modular power supply, so we're just going to have to make do cable managing these. But that's alright, because it was a good budget. Okay. Now we're going to plug in the case fans. Into the power supply and then the motherboard. Into the system fan plug down there. Some of the stuff is hard to get at. So now for the motherboard connectors. I've routed this cable through a hole on the case for cool cable management. And we're going to plug the two 4-pin connectors back into the motherboard. So I've purchased this nice cable sleeve for my 24-pin motherboard connector, and I'm going to route that right through the back here. And plug it right into the motherboard. For a few extra dollars you can really make it look really like extra bling, you know? Now we're going to use two blue SATA connectors for our disk drive and our solid state drive. I like to use blue because it just matches the theme so nicely. And we're going to run this through the back. And the first one we're going to run through up here and connect into our disk drive. Now we're going to give that drive some power, which we can run through the same top hole. So once you got your disk drive in, one of the final steps is installing the solid state drive. Not going to install it in the front because this case doesn't have any support for SSDs. You just plug it in. Sort of shove it somewhere in the back so people don't see it. And your build should be complete, I think. And now that you have it all finally built, you can turn it on and install your operating system, whichever one you like. It can be a Hackintosh, or a Linux machine, or Windows. Speaking of Windows, we'll have this windowed side panel on there. This slides right on. You can see all your wonderful components. You can subscribe to my channel if you like those 4 topics I cover, which are animation, sound, and technical type things. Those are actually 3 topics, I'm sorry. You could also throw a comment my way and I could try to respond ASAP. Just kidding, I don't care about you. Good night, everybody!